All right, welcome friends. As we are gathering and letting people in, I would love you to locate the chat at the bottom of your screen. And why don't you practice typing and just tell us where you're calling in from today, where you're joining us from. And we will get started in just a couple of minutes. This chat bar will, all right, we've got Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Minneapolis, Highland A from beautiful Stillwater. All right. You know, some people may be joining us a little bit late and others will be probably watching this session later as it's recorded. Hi, Hillary. Yes, Priscilla, we're so happy. It's evening time there, but we're happy you're with us.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to make some announcements to get started, just some housekeeping for the record as people are getting let in from the waiting room still. Hi, Jeff. Looks like Jeff is waiting to get in, Dan. Okay. Thank you all for making the time to join us for the second webinar of our inaugural series, LPGM 101. Just so you know, you are all on mute and your cameras have been turned off to start. But we will eventually give you the opportunity to show yourself and ask a question, or during the presentation, you may type a question in chat.
Yeah, and if you have any questions throughout the presentation, just feel free to type them right in the chat. As time allows at the end, we'll take a few minutes and try to answer any questions that you have. We're just really excited that you're here with us.
Thank you.
So this session, as Bethany mentioned, is being recorded and it'll be available on our YouTube channel, where you can also see this webinar from last week, which was just a general overview of LPGM, our history and our ministry. Today, we're focusing on our flagship program, Project Education India.
We hope you learned something new today about LPGM so that we can all carry on with a better understanding of how together we are helping students at the margin. I'm very much looking forward to hearing Priscilla. These webinars are open to anyone, and we're counting on you to help us spread the word about LPGM. You can share the recording of today's webinar as well as the first one from last week or the two yet to come with a colleague, a church group, or a friend. Invite them to the dialogue, and thank you.
Thanks, Naomi. Now that housekeeping is done, we will begin with a brief introduction by our Edina, Minnesota-based staff. Then we'll go into the presentation, which will be a brief overview of LPGM's mission and vision before diving into today's topic, which is Project Education India. And we will do our best to leave time for questions at the end. If we don't get to all the questions today, though, we are here to answer your questions. So we will have contact info for where you can reach us. Now we'll begin with staff introductions. My name is Bethany Krapella. I am the development director here at Lutheran Partners in Global Ministry, and I joined the team in November of 2020. Dan.
Hi, everyone. I am Dan Ruth. I'm the executive director here at LPGM, and I've been here since 2017, and it has been an amazing organization to be a part of.
I'm Naomi Sterick. I'm a charter board member from 1995 when LPGM was created, and I joined the staff in September of 2009 as the managing director.
And I'm Mary Peterson. I am program director and also travel coordinator for LPGM, and I have been on staff since 2012. And it is truly an honor and a privilege for me to introduce our guest today, who is Priscilla. When I went on my first trip to India, Priscilla was the boarding home manager in the Kilrain Hills. So we have known each other for a long time. Let's see, where do I start? in addition to India, we also have Guatemala, Tanzania, and CAR as partners, but India is our biggest partner and PEI is our largest program. With LPGM partners, we have 6 boarding homes. And in those 6 boarding homes, we are serving 1,252 students currently. And they are throughout the southeast state of Tamil Nadu. Of those, 925 currently have sponsors, and they are sponsored by 710 sponsors, which leaves us with 327 unsponsored awaiting students. And we'll share how you can help us with that number later. So Reverend Priscilla Sudhakar, Priscilla is the convener currently of the Boarding Home Governing Council, and also is a pastor at, I hope I say this right, Priscilla, Chinsalem?
I'm pastor at Neyveli.
With the Arcot Lutheran Church, who is also the owners, should I say, of 4 of the boarding homes that we have sponsored students in. After Dan presents a little overview of the Project Education India program, Priscilla will share some personal insights into how our sponsorship of the boarding home students in India is filling a huge need and improving the life of so many students. Welcome, Priscilla.
Thank you, Naomi, Mary, Dan, and all the others who are in the meeting today. And thank you for inviting me in for this wonderful meeting. And I represent ALC, and I am the Boarding Home Governing Council convener. So I kind of have an overview of all the boarding homes in the ALC. And 4 major boarding homes are sponsored by LPGM. And I have been working as the manager in the Kalrayan Hills since 2002. And but then I stopped working there, I think 2013, like I had worked there at least for 10 years. And so I have gained a lot of personal experience with boarding homes and how children live there and what kind of problem they bring in with themselves when they come into the boarding homes, and what kind of students we are having here in ALC. So as and when you ask me questions, I'll be sure to answer you because I don't know where you will have where you will need clarifications. So when you ask me questions, I will give you my detailed answers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. It's really wonderful to see you, and it's been too long. I was last in India in February of 2020 when I last saw you, Priscilla, and if anyone knows what happened in February and March of 2020, we were just beginning to talk about this coronavirus that was starting to spread, and it was within a couple weeks of me returning to Minnesota that everything really shut down. Before Priscilla gets too deep, and I have some questions, Priscilla, that I can ask you as well to kind of get some of the conversation going, I want to just kind of begin with a really brief overview of who Lutheran Partners is and why it is that we partner in this program called Project Education India. So to begin with, I just want to share LPGM's vision. Because this is how this is the world that we would like to see when we believe our mission is complete. And so we have articulated this vision that LPGM envisions a world where relationships transform boundaries and where all people have the resources and opportunities they need to thrive. And the way that we have articulated that as an organization and as a ministry is that it's sort of in 2 pieces. The second half is that the ministry that we do is in hopes that all people all around the world, people who are created and loved by God simply because they are human and they are part of God's creation, we envision a world where they have the resources and opportunities they need to thrive. And that includes us too in that global vision. And the second, the first part of the vision is that relationships transform boundaries. And we really believe that everything that we do is in relationship with each other. And so we work very closely with our partners all around the world, including in the Arcot Lutheran Church, where Priscilla is from, in southern India, to really build those relationships. And students and sponsors can build relationships with each other as well. And we believe that that is part of who we are as God's people, called to live in relationship with each other. Our mission then is how we do it. How we try to get to that vision. And it's that LPGM provides access to quality education for people at the margins, especially women and girls. That doesn't exclude boys and men, but we know that women and girls often have the least access to quality education. And so we wanted to really say that, you know, we especially provide that access to education for them. And we work together with global partners to listen, respond, and bear witness to local needs and priorities. So we recognize that LPGM here in Minnesota, we don't speak the local languages, we don't know the context, but our partners do. And partners like Priscilla are native to Tamil Nadu, that is their home, and they are working with students and the people there. And we simply walk beside them to listen to them and listen to the needs of students, to respond to those needs, and then to do exactly what we're doing here today, is to bear witness to the love and the truth that is part of their lives. So that is sort of a brief overview. We work primarily, our biggest program is Project Education India. It is the longest running program. And this happens in the state of Tamil Nadu in Southeast India, kind of the closest state to Sri Lanka, which you see highlighted in green here. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit more with a Google map and show you these these 6 boarding homes are where we sponsor students specifically. The 4 in the north are part of the Arcot Lutheran Church. They are owned and operated by the Arcot Lutheran Church, which is an indigenous church body in India. And the ones in the south are part of the India Evangelical Lutheran Church, just a different Lutheran church body. But these are all Lutheran boarding schools, boarding homes, where students live and learn. If you sponsor a student yourself, you may recognize some of these boarding homes. And if you actually have a prayer card that you've received recently that may have a student ID on it, if you look at the first 3 letters, it gives you a clue of where the student's boarding home is. So Siloam is an all-girls boarding school, and it begins with 010. Saran is an all-boys boarding home, starting with 030. Melpatamkam is all girls, 020. The Kalryan Hills is actually a couple of different boarding homes that we put sort of grouped together with 040. Concordia then in the south is 070, and Good Shepherd Home for the Deaf is 110. So you can just see the wide variety and get a little clue of sort of even how our numbering system works within the boarding schools themselves. Oh, and now I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen so that you can see Priscilla a little bit better. And Priscilla, I just want to turn to you and just ask you, can you talk a little bit about where do students come from? What are their needs? Why do they choose to come, and would their families choose to have them stay in the boarding home? What is a typical student's family situation?
Well, we have 2 girls boarding home and 1 all boys boarding home and 1 boarding home for tribal children that LPGM sponsor in ALC. So the 2 girls boarding home are very big boarding homes, and the 1 boys boarding home is also a big boarding home. And one in the Kalryan Hills, we have 3 locations where tribal children come and study. So each boarding home have their own objective. the girls boarding home, the two girls boarding homes, they they concentrate on women education, and they make sure that when girl children get educated, when they reach high school, and up till they reach high school, mm, uh, the boarding homes make sure that they get their education and they don't drop out in between. And in Kalrain Hills, it's only for tribal children. Tribal children also have a lot of challenges. They don't want to come and study because they want to drop out and go and work in the field. Like they want to pursue agriculture, and therefore they are demotivated to study. So we have to push and make them study till 12th standard. And after that also, we have to push them to go to higher education, either college or some trade they want to pursue. And in the boys boarding home, again, they have different challenges. Again, their parents are also very poor, and most of the time they want to take them to work along with them. So the labor that they get from the boys is necessary for the economic condition of the family. So they want to pull down the boys, take them away from the education and make them work along with them when they go for work. So overall, our children in the boarding home come to the schools and boardings because it's free of cost education, as well as we provide food and shelter for children when the parents are migrating for work around the country. Like at least in southern part of India, the people, the poor people here in Tamil Nadu go and work and earn their living like that. So these are our goals, and as well as the challenges that we have with the children in our boarding homes. I am clear with you.
Yeah, thank you. And you mentioned the term tribal for the tribal children in the Kalrain Hills. Can you talk a little bit more about what that means, what their families are like, and then also just talk a little bit about we also hear the term Dalit from time to time, or we use that term sometimes, and describe a little bit about what that means as well.
Yes, first you asked me about tribal children, and there are two types of alienation in the country. One is the Dalit, and another one is the tribal one. Alienation from the mainstream of the society. Dalits are untouchables, and tribals are unseeables. That's how we classify. Unseeables are like they are not in the immediate neighborhood. Therefore, they don't get classified as Dalits, but they have the same kind of challenges, as well as they have, the government gives them, the Dalits and the tribals, equal amount of help. They give them reservations and things like that are for Dalits and tribals are equal. So the unseeables, the tribals, their challenges are because they live in the hills. Most people don't get in touch with them, and so they don't have the feel of the civilization that people have in the valley or in the plains. So again, food supply and electricity and things like that do not reach them as people would have it down in the valley. Therefore, their challenges are very different. They live like jungle. They have lived like that 20 years ago, like jungle people. But again, now they have come into civilization, especially because Arcot Lutheran Church had gone to Kalrain Hills and worked there. They have come even to know how to dress like others. Like women did not have a blouse, they call the one which they wear with sari. Those days they didn't even have a blouse to wear. They just draped the sari around. But now after ALC had gone there, they had a model, and then only they started wearing the kind of dresses that we are wearing now. So ALC was doing pioneering work in the 70s and 80s. It's all because of ALC that Coleraine Hills had come to this far. And with tribal children that had been studying in the boarding home when I was there had a lot of problems. Like one boy had a skin disease that he couldn't get rid of. And I was trying to send him to doctor and things like that, but he had to have a good nutrition. When he was in our boarding home, I was able to provide a little bit of the nutrition that was required, but then when he went back home, he was not having the enough nutrition that he needed, so the skin problem persisted when he came back to the boarding home. And there were other children like that, all of them having anemic problem and things like that, because they don't have enough the nutrition that they need. Therefore, most of my projects that I've asked for, like special projects, they were all rotating around the food that I should give to the children. So that they could at least get the balanced diet when they are in the boarding home. When they are in the boarding home, they look very nice and clean and things like that. When they get back home, they work in the hot sun and they come back with, they don't look very good. So that's why I think that the children in Coleraine Hills do not have a good environment to grow up in when they are with their parents. So the boarding homes give a good environment for them to grow up, as well as give them good education for a good future. So again, the Dalit people have other kind of challenges. Like they have to always deal with this concept of untouchability. That the subtle racism, we can say, that you don't really understand in the US, because racism in your country will be like you have different skin colors, and you can call it racism. But here, this kind of racism is, you shun them out, and then you don't give them enough opportunity to in any area. So there was one man called Dr. Ambedkar. He proposed a law, and in which he could a lot of privileges for Dalit people. So nowadays, many Dalit students who study in the village and have some kind of education get a job with the reservation that our government provides. But even then, they are exploited, and sometimes they are they experience the untouchability even in the government sector, in the schools and things like that. Our people always look for skin color, the shade of skin color. If you have a fair skin color, then it's all right. And when the darker your skin gets, the more you experience this untouchability. And that's the pathetic condition, but it's subtly, you can see it in all parts of our country, in Tamil Nadu especially, because in southern part of India, many black people, dark skinned people are there. So kind of experience many people get. Again, and another thing about Dalit is they have been, because they are untouchables. When you have a village and there is one well, untouchables could not go to the well and fetch water. Only the high caste people can get water from the well. And it was like that 50 years ago, but now things have changed. But when the Dalit stay in their own villages, they will be identified as Dalit. When they go to major cities and they dress up well, and many people cannot be identified as Dalits, so they will survive. Otherwise, when they are in their hometown, in their home village, they will suffer untouchability very much. Did I explain enough?
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I don't know if people caught this, but one thing that Priscilla mentioned that I just think I've learned in my time at LPGM that I think is fascinating is when India got its independence from Britain, and we're writing a new constitution, the primary writer of that constitution was Dr. Ambedkar, who was he was Dalit himself. Is that right? And so he wrote many protections into the Indian Constitution for Dalit people, and yet there continues to be a lot of discrimination for Dalit people, formerly called untouchables, that people face. I want to turn just to the boarding homes themselves for a minute, and just can you tell us a little bit about sort of what does a typical day or week look like for students? What time do they wake up? What do they eat for their meals? You know, how much are they in school? What happens when they're done with school? Just kind of an overview like that.
Yes, routines change or the chores change as and when the children grow up. For 1 to 5th standard, that's the elementary school, children have a relaxed day schedule. But when they grow up, like after 6th standard to 8th standard, maybe they have again a mediocre hectic day. But when they come to 9th to 12th standard, they have school work, very heavy work, and some of them don't understand the subject, so they even get more stressed out, and they work hard in the school. So we give them less work in the boarding home, like everyday chores. But they wake up mostly at 5 to 5:30 a.m. and they have a morning prayer, and after morning prayer they'll sit for studies, and maybe by 7 in the morning they will go start taking bath and getting ready for school. By 8 to 8:30 they will have breakfast, and from 8:30 onwards they will start moving to school, like in the they stand in the row and then they will start going to school. By 9:15 the school will start, and for elementary school the school will end by 4 p.m., but the higher secondary school by 4:30 p.m. And after that they will come to boarding homes, and they will take a short break, and then they will start cleaning up their the boarding places, and then they will sit for study. By 6 they will go for dinner 7:45 to 8 p.m. and then they will, after dinner they will go to bed. And higher secondary school students or high school students, they will start their second study period even in the night. They will sleep whenever they finish their studies. So that's how the day will go. But early morning breakfast will be anything related to rice. Midday meals will be for lunch for most of the children. And again, they will come back home to the boarding home, and they will have anything connected with the rice and the Indian kind of dishes. So I cannot explain to many of you, because you may not know what kind of food we eat. So most of the time we eat food that is related to rice and some soya, sometimes the other kind of dal. That's mostly it. And sometimes in the evening we'll have snacks, again like peas and things like that. So does it answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. And I know that there's some protein added throughout the weeks, sometimes chicken or eggs. Is that right?
Yes, right. So that will be listed in the menu that we give to you when we talk about food in our budget. We have a list of menu, and mostly we will have chicken on Sundays for children for lunch, and every day mostly we'll have eggs for children. After they come even from midday meals provide one egg for a day, and we also give eggs every day.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the clubs, the CCMC clubs that students provide, and all the, some of the different things that those committees do?
Yes, we have recently developed, like not recently, almost 8 or 9 years, we have been working on the CCMC, that's Children's Committee. That is there are many committees that the children have, and mostly grown-up children will be the leaders of each committee, and there is a prescribed number of members that should be involved in each committee. So there will be a health committee, there would be a food committee, there will be a cleaning committee, and things like that. Especially food committee was very active when I was the boarding home manager, because sometimes the cooks won't cook well. So they will go and complain. They come back and complain to me, and they want best food, but the cooks sometimes they mess up. So the food committee was a very active committee. And then this education committee. So they will check on each other and see who is doing well and who is not doing well. And they will help each other, and they will ask me to get more staff or coaching or tutors to help them in subjects that they are weak in school. So that was the education committee. And then there was this health committee again. They will come and spot the children who have diseases, problems, or sicknesses, and they will come and report. So it was a very active when I was the manager. I'm talking about when I was the manager. But even when you ask Reverend Anita or Reverend Tangadurai or Sister Navanidam or Bishop, they will tell you how CCMC committee was getting everything alive. They're making everything alive. So students were taking up responsibilities that they wouldn't do otherwise. Example, I told you about the food, and that was the most active committee. They would make the life of the cooks very miserable because they would come and report every time. So it was about taking more and more responsibilities as a community, as a student community. They would check each other's health, each other's growth, and things like that. So it was and then if they even would complain about the teachers from the school, and they would make everything straight when it comes to education. So that's how it works. And I think it's a very good idea to implement the committee in each boarding home.
I love that. And I just want to reiterate for people who may have missed it, these committees are CCMC is Child-Centered Management Committee, and they're really like student-led committees within the boarding homes who have a particular assignment. So there's might be a food committee, education committee, I think a sports committee sometimes, and they really I've seen sort of the dynamic nature of them. So the students themselves have a voice in their home and can push for higher quality when they need it, or preferences that they may have. There's a great question in the chat about the relationship between the boarding schools and the boarding homes and the surrounding communities. Like, how is the tribal school received in the hills? How do people in the surrounding communities view it? And what's the relationship there?
Dan, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what the question was, what is the relationship like between the ALC boarding homes and the surrounding community, especially in the Calrine Hills, but just in anywhere where the homes are?
Yes, Calrine Hills boarding home is well received by the community in Calrine Hills. I think they really cherish our service to the people. The people in Calrine Hills are very much impressed by the work that ALC does in Calrine Hills, especially with the boarding homes, because many of them have the need of keeping the children in the boarding home, and they really appreciate our work in the boarding homes. And at least when I was there, they would really trust us and leave the children in the boarding home, and they always back us up with more support to run the boarding home well. The only problem that I would face as a manager with the tribal children is when it comes to money. They don't want to even pay the 100 rupee per month, and till 12 months or even for 11 months, they don't want to pay. And that's where we have problems with the tribal children. Otherwise, we are well received by the tribal people, and they know that our work is very valuable for them.
Yeah, thank you. And just to jump in on that, Priscilla just mentioned the 100 rupees per month. That's a little bit over $1 US, 100 rupees. And in a typical year, that would sort of help, for lack of a better word, the parents just invest a little bit in their students' education. We have recognized, and in conversation with the ALC, that during this pandemic time and coming out of the pandemic, that one of the things LPGM has committed to is just to waive all of those fees, so that we're trying to remove any barriers that students have to returning to the boarding homes after this pandemic. And Priscilla, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what happened in the boarding homes, what happened with students over the last 2 years, and how did the coronavirus affect people there? And then how was the ALC and with LPGM support able to help respond and provide some support?
Yes, let me tell you chronologically. When you came in 2020, and when we finished the meeting, immediately after the meeting, the lockdown started. One after the other, all the lockdown implementations have come down on us, and we were not even be able to move inside the city that we have been living. Everywhere blockages and things like that. And parents of students who have been working as migrant workers elsewhere in the country, they had rushed back to their hometowns, and the parents of our children, boarding home children, have also come back like that. Some of them got stuck, but then later they had come back again. But some of them had to even walk or hitchhike or things like that when they had to come back home. It was a difficult journey for them to return to their homes. But even when they came back home, they were again facing other problems, like they didn't have money to spend for their family for each day survival. So government had announced some food distributions, but ALC had was committed along with LPGM. Dan?
Yeah, we are still here. Your video went off, but I can hear you.
Yeah, ALC had spent much time providing food supplies for children, and we have packed food supplies. We have packed like rice and dal and things like that in a package, and we would give it to the children or to the parents of the children, and it would help them to survive for a for a couple of weeks or for even a month, along with the supplies that was provided from the government. Again, we had this school activities. What was that name? Dan, can you help me?
Yeah, the socially distanced learning, outdoor education. Children are focus is what we called it, right?
Yes, and surprisingly, it had helped many staff who have been not skilled, like they didn't know how to teach. Even though staff had learned how to teach and they went into the villages and taught the children, they had a lot of training in the boarding home as to how to teach the children math, science, and other subjects, and Tamil and English language. So it was a very useful uh, project, like the children are focused, and this food supply that we had, dry ration that we have provided, and we never stopped caring for the children even during the pandemic time. They would always wanted to come back, but the sad reality is some of the girls who have been studying in the boarding homes, they were forced to get married even in their early teens. So that was something that we as the church and boarding home were not able to stop, because it was arranged by the parents, and the parents would send them off as quickly as possible so that they can shun their responsibilities and get the girl children married. So, but we have always been in regular intervals providing dry ration, and in regular intervals, or in a time we had continuously worked on Children Our Focus project. So ALC was committed to do that.
Thank you. And finally, I wonder, right now, students are back in the boarding homes. School restarted again this past year, and now it's getting to the exam time. Can you talk just a little bit about what exams look like at the end of higher secondary school, 10th standard and 12th standard national exams? Because we don't have something quite the same in the US.
In India, we have a very strict examination process. At the end of the 10th standard, 10th grade, and at the end of the 12th grade, we have public exams, the national exams. And the questions are set by the government. The government and the entire Tamil Nadu government will set exams for all the 10th standard students and 12th standard students uniformly throughout our Tamil Nadu government. And these students that are studying in our boarding homes have to go through those two exams. So it would be in for Tamil native language or vernacular language, English, maths, science, history, and geography. And these are the 5 subjects that they will study when they are in the 10th standard. When they come to 12th standard, they have groups. They will have science groups, maths groups, and economic group, or science maths group. Though clubbed together, there are 4 kinds of groups, and each groups will have will have science related subjects. Maths groups will have maths related subjects. Economic groups will have economics related subjects, and computer science groups will have computer science related subjects that they have to sit for exams in the 12th standard. And after they have passed these exams, they can go, they can use these marks to go and apply for colleges anywhere in Tamil Nadu or even outside. When they study in English, they can go outside Tamil Nadu, but when they have study in their vernacular language, like when they study in Tamil, they will have to select colleges that provide education in Tamil. That's how it looks like. But other classes like elementary school and middle schools do not have public exams. But in recent days, they were pondering on even giving exams in public exams in 5th standard, in 8th standard, and things like that. So it was opposed by even public, the people in the people at large in Tamil Nadu. So that's the condition. But it's a very stressful examination point of view. When you work towards the examination, the children get very much tensed and stressed because they sometimes feel inadequate. They didn't study well and things like that, and they would get worked up as the exams come closer.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that's wonderful. I would love to just take a moment, and I have two short videos that I would like to share. One is we got some videos from graduates who have sent and just sort of saying what they are doing now, and it's a nice representation to just give you a sense of where some of the boarding home graduates are now and how they're doing. And then the second is just sort of a thank you from the largest all-girls boarding home called Siloam. And so I'm going to share my screen one more time and play these for you all.
One good news with you all. I wrote my PG All India Entrance Examination in June 2020. By God grace, I got first rank in that All India PG Entrance Examination. Now I am doing my postgraduate in Department of Oral Maxillofacial Surgery in AIIMS, New Delhi. In this moment, especially I want to thank all my LPGM sponsor and that LPGM director, Dr. Mary Peterson, and all my teachers, surround boarding teachers, wardens, everyone, because without them it will be impossible. Today, my family, everyone is happy. So I want to thank everyone in this moment, and I want to convey this happy news to my sponsor. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you all.
I am Jeline Vasandakumari. My LBGM number 875. Yes, I am very old student. My batch number is 2012. Yes, I studied in Siloam Boarding Girls School. Seriously, that is very golden moment, unforgettable. And this is a very precious time, precious moment. Yes. I think yes. I completed in BSc Nursing. I am working in Miyat International Hospital 3 years in Chennai. Actually, this video special thank for my sponsor and whole LPGM team. Seriously, and very thankful my heartily because of you only give to opportunity, big opportunity for my life and growing my career. So thank God and God grace only.
Hi, greeting to all. I'm Ruth Elizabeth. I'm the old student in Siloam. I've completed my BE Electronic Communication Engineering. Now I'm joining in Schneider Electric Company. Thank you for your financial support. Girls' education is very important. Continue to support us. Thank you.
Education is the only one thing no one can take away from me. Thank you, my dear sponsors, for this precious gift.
To educate girls is to reduce poverty. Thank you, LPGM, for this great work.
I appreciate everything that you have done for us.
Thank you for healthy food. Thank you for safe stay.
Thank you for your great ministry since 26 years.
We will continue to work hard.
So that is just a little thank you, Priscilla. Before we go, and I would just want to sum up a little bit and maybe address any questions that have come up in the chat. Can you just take one more moment and just say what is it that sponsorship means to students in particular? Is it just the financial support, or is there something deeper that students feel themselves because they're sponsored?
I don't know how I can relate it to your condition, like in the US, when you sponsor a child for higher education or things like that. It's really as a financial push. But for us, it means a whole life for us when you sponsor. It means something when you are deep down somewhere there, and with the sponsorship program, the children really rise up to some other personality because of the education. And without having the sponsor program, many children would not have even known what education is, because they're not motivated to come, they're not motivated to pay, their parents don't want to pay anything. And because of the sponsorship program and because of your constant support and encouragement only, because I know as a manager how much you really care and ask us what really is needed, and then you supply those needs as and when we progress. So those things are very important for us as managers, as workers in the ALC, that you really constantly ask us what is our need, and then you push us forward with your help, with your support, and your moral support, your financial support, and that gives us encouragement to go on to the children, and they give the service to the children, and then give education to the children, food, education, spiritual nurture, and everything that they need to come up in their life. Like they are not like their parents when they go back home. They're not like the people who grow up in their village. They're somebody different, and with different skills, with different talents, they go back home. So sponsor program is everything to us, means everything. I don't know how to explain more than this. Does it answer your question, or I don't
Yes,
know?
thank you. Thank you. That's really wonderful to hear. I do want to also just acknowledge and say that LPGM actually has a few staff people in India who are also native to that area. One of them is on the line right now. Elongavan Muse is the program manager for our team in India, who works really closely with the boarding homes and with the ALC staff. Alongavan is an accountant by background, and so brings a really invaluable piece of being able to help with all the accounting and financial management that happens between LPGM and the ALC. Alongavan, I don't know if you're able to, but if you're able to just turn on your video and unmute yourself and just say a quick greetings, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, very good morning to you all. I am Ilangovan from Kadalur, which was situated in Tamil Nadu. I am basically an accountancy trainer for the chartered accountant, the professional account students since 25 years. I am really happy to work here in this LPGM because one question which was asked by our executive director, that what is meant the sponsorship. Actually, the students are not think about this is sponsorship, but they have some faithful connection as a father and mother with the sponsors. They are not thinking of sponsors. They are thinking they are of also parents of them. So every time when they write the response letter, they wrote, "Dear sponsored parents, dear mom, dear grandpa." It is very awesome to see that. So the program is based on 4 pillars: the church, LPGM, the community. The community means the parents, and also the children be built and enrich the education to the students. I am very happy, but actually I am very curious about what is happening in this webinar. This is my first webinar attendance, I think so. So thank you, Dan. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak here. I am very happy.
Thank you so much, Alongavan. We're in regular touch with Alongavan, who just does a fantastic job working with the boarding schools and our staff in India as well. There was one question about in the chat about where other finances may come from with financial support for these boarding homes. I will say briefly that the Arcot Lutheran Church is a companion synod with the Northern Illinois Synod of the ELCA, and that there is a relationship with congregations in Northern Illinois. And so the ELCA has provided some direct support as well. And then there's also a strong historic tie with the Lutheran Church in Denmark. The ALC was a mission start of Danish missionaries. And so Dan Mission is an organization that continues. That being said, LPGM is one of the only primary funding sources for these schools. The teachers themselves in the schools are their salaries are paid for by the government, but the primary financial support for the boarding homes and all of the room and board that happens and the extracurricular activities comes directly through your sponsorship. And you are a part of that. Priscilla talked a little bit about, and Alongavan talked a little bit about how meaningful that is to students. And even your prayers as sponsors, I think prayer is one of those things that connects us, no matter how physically far apart we are, to each other all around the world through our faith. And so your prayers for students, whether it's a particular student that you sponsor or just all of the students in general, really makes a huge difference and connects you to each other. I just want to say thank you to you all for joining us. Thank you to Alongavan and Priscilla for being part of this and helping to explain. There is so much more that I would love to dive deeper into and talk more about. I had questions spinning in my head as we were talking that I would love to dive deeper into. But for the sake of time, I just want to encourage you all, if you're able to sponsor more students or just make a financial sponsorship of the program in general, you can do that as well. You don't have to be assigned to a specific student. And we are just really grateful for that financial support. And Bethany, I'm going to turn to you for another announcement.
Before that announcement, we had a great question just now from Christine. She asked if somebody could say a few words about Concordia or about Good Shepherd School for the Deaf and about the students there. If we could just take a minute.
It was situated in Tuticorin, that it was end of the so that is the end of the Tamil Nadu. They have 40 students, deaf and dumb students in GS home. Now the school was improved up to 12th standard. 3 to 4 years back, it has only up to 8th standard, 8th grade. Now it was upgraded into 12th standard. So the students of 12th standard will write their government exam in the same school. So it will be very much improvised school now. And now the sponsorship is for 40 students, but they have 110 students now. See, 40 students are sponsored by LPGM, and others are non-sponsor students that they are paying their own fees to the schools. But the schools has no fees, only they are receiving some money from the government. The government pays sum of money, very few money to all the boarding home, I mean, all the students per month for their food. And all the things of educational supports are free for them. Now it was working very good and have some other NGOs support as CSR program. They got some tablets for the online educational system, and also they are having some YouTube classes. They are making some YouTube classes, and it is also very much helpful to the students for the studies in this pandemic period, because in this pandemic period the problem of the student is they are not getting the food also, not only education. Our sponsor students are come to this boarding home for first thing is safety, then second one is for food, then third one is education. So we are compromising to study by giving safety. Here is environment and also the nice food. So the food is not able to reach when it was the pandemic period, but the LPGM support for the dry ration supplies to the students, and all the 40 students, not only the 40 students, mostly 80 students are get the dry ration packages from LPGM. It is I really thankful to LPGM because of these physically not challenged students. They get the nice support for the education. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Alango.
Thank you. All right, just a final announcement. We will be meeting again next Tuesday morning, May 3rd. For our topic that week, it's going to be the Safe House, Safe School initiative in Tanzania. And we are going to be joined by Juliet Cutler, who is an author, a girls' education advocate. She is the author of a book called Among the Maasai. Perhaps some of you have read it. She will be joined by Salome Lali, who works for Mwangaza, which is a faith-based grassroots organization in Tanzania. And we will be talking through that program then. And then the following week, May 10th, we are going to be focusing on our partnership in Guatemala with the Community Cloud Forest Conservation Program. So we hope you'll join us. Just a reminder to please register for each webinar session individually, as there is a unique link each time. And I would just encourage you to think, who do you know that might be interested in hearing one of these webinars? You can share the link after the fact of the recording or invite them to join you live as you watch with us. But either way, we just want to say thank you for helping us get the word out about our partners and the great work that they're doing. And this would not be possible without your support. So thank you. And if you have questions about how to sponsor a student, please feel free to go to our website or give us a call or an email. We are here to help.
Yeah, and just one final thank you to all of you who are able to join us. It really means a lot. You are part of this broader ministry connecting to students and partners and people of faith all around the world, including in the Arcot Lutheran Church and the India Evangelical Lutheran Church in Tamil Nadu. Your financial gifts make this education possible, and I just want to say thank you and blessings to you as you enjoy the rest of your week. And thank you to Priscilla and Alongavin for joining us as well.
Nandri, Vanakkam. You continue, Priscilla.
Thank you.
Dan, excuse me.
Yes, please, Priscilla.
Please.
Yes, I want to thank from the bottom of my heart as a representative of ALC for the support that you have been providing for us for such a long time. It meant a lot to us, and it will continue to change our lives here in Tamil Nadu for the better for many children. You are doing a very, very important job in the Arcot Lutheran Church in educating the children, not only Christian children but non-Christian. This is a very good support for non-Christian children that goes beyond our faith circle. So each and every one of you LPGM staff members I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I send thanks to you from the bishop and all the office bearers of Arcad Lutheran Church. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. You have a wonderful evening, and I am grateful for your ministry as a pastor and your ministry with all of the boarding homes of the ALC. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Blessings to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.